There is a camera that I have wanted to use for a long time. Ever since I found out about it, I always wondered what the images would look like that I take out of it, since it's not really a format that I have ever shot before. This camera is the Fujifilm TX-2 or the Hasselblad X-Pan. They are identical. These cameras are very expensive and I could never afford one. Luckily, at my university, they do actually have, I think it's 2 of these, so I was just like, yes, I want an induction, I will happily book one of those out and try it out. After I'd done my induction, I went out and shot a roll on it straight away, but I didn't really shoot it in the circumstances that you were meant to shoot it. I just shot some portraits and they were terrible. They were really bad portraits. I ended up even using the camera portrait orientation just to see how long the frame would be, and they just look terrible, and I do not know what I was thinking. Well, I do know what I was thinking. I was thinking, oh hey, this is an expensive camera, I want to try it out, and yeah, I sort of just got bored of it. I was like, well, they're just panoramic images and they look shit, so there's no point of me even really using this. However, the other day I thought I may as well book it out, since I was going to go to Plymouth with my friends Harry, Jen and Carter. None of us really go to Plymouth that often. In fact, Jen and Carter haven't been at all, and I think Harry's only been a few times. Last time I went to Plymouth was about 4 or 5 years ago, so it's been a long time. So yeah, on this trip I brought along the Fujifilm TX-2. I'll probably call it the X-Pan, the title, since that tends to, bring in more views, since it sounds so much cooler, rather than Fujifilm TX-2. That sounds dead. So yeah, I brought the Fujifilm TX-2 and the Pentax 6.7 along with me. Originally I was taking photos of the street and people on the street, since it's basically what Plymouth is. It's just a big street with a few shops, and yeah, there's not many good photos you can get there, or not many good photos I could get there on that day at least. These images are pretty terrible, I can't lie, and I was really struggling to compose the panoramic frame in the streets, and looking back on them, I would really like to try it again, but get closer to people, since I have a feeling it could be a really good street photography camera if you're very close to your subjects, but that isn't how I like to do street photography, but one day I may have to try it. After being around Plymouth for a little bit, we decided to go to the big lighthouse that's there. I'm not actually sure where it is, it's just this lighthouse, as I have not actually been to the lighthouse before. I've only been in sort of like the centre of Plymouth, because whenever I go there it would be to just, get some clothes or stuff like that a few years ago. Once we were at this sort of lighthouse area, it's just big open place and a lighthouse, so I'll just keep calling it the lighthouse area because of that. I was just shooting some photos. I started to use my Pentax then. I was shooting some Kodak Gold on it. I actually got some really nice photos with my Pentax of the lighthouse and people sitting on benches and then the lighthouse in the distance. I was actually being a bit too cautious with my exposures when shooting my Pentax, and I actually underexposed a few images, so I had to bring them back and they look pretty muddy. But I'd rather have the images look a bit muddy than just have them very dark, because it wasn't the best look. The images on the TX2 were, to say good is a bit, nice. The images are very basic and just boring, but it was just me getting used to the camera and trying to get used to that panoramic frame, because it is a really weird thing to use, and when you're used to this normal 35mm, looking through the viewfinder and just seeing it about that wide, you're just like, how am I going to make an image out of this? It's annoying, to say the least. Maybe I'm just really bad with composing panoramic. I know I am, but maybe that's just why I was just like, this is annoying. But yeah, I did get a few nice images, but most of them were kind of dog shit, I can't lie. I actually do like the images that I got my Pentax a lot more. There was this food place, I don't know what it was, but yeah, this food place was really nice and just had nice colours, and there was a little queue outside, and I was going to take a photo and I realised in the bottom of the frame there was this bike, and I was like, oh, let me back up a bit and get that bike in frame. I actually do like these photos quite a bit. There is another photo that I do like that I got on the TX2. It's of these people walking up this hill and there's this railing that's sort of leading your eye into them. One thing that I have noticed is with the TX2, to get sharp photos they need to be in the centre. That's pretty obvious, but like I didn't realise how bad it was going to be. It's just something to remember next time I'm shooting. But like I said, I would really like to use this camera when I'm doing more street photography and get up close to people. But one thing I have noticed with this camera is quite annoying is whenever you press the shutter button, it doesn't take the photo straight away. It sort of gives like a, only a few milliseconds, but those milliseconds can make a massive difference, and they do. Because there's multiple times where I took a photo, and then when I've taken the photo, like there was this one of this person on a bike, and I was framing them perfectly in between these lines, and I shot when they would be perfectly in between. I actually shot a bit before that, just in case they weren't perfectly in between, so I was like, right, okay, I'm going to take that there. But then they ended up being over here. I'm just like, that's quite annoying. Like, I could have got quite a nice photo there, but it is what it is. The next day, I loaded some Cinestill 400D into this camera, and I just wanted to get some actual landscapes, because the video that I was recording was meant to be a landscape video with this camera, but I really didn't expect Plymouth to be this bad for landscapes. Like, I thought, it's got a city in like this area, but then around here it's the coastline. I could go around there and get some photos, and I did get a few alright landscapes, as you saw, but they're not great. So I was like, I want to get some actual good landscapes. After loading the film into the camera, I woke up very early, before sunrise, and went out, and I was going to go shoot some photos at Cambrai. And I got there, and well, I'll just show you. It looks like I've just woken up. That is because I have just decided that I'm going to go out at sunrise and get some photos with this camera here. This is the Fujifilm TX-2, but it's basically a Hasselblad X-Pan. It's a 35mm panoramic camera. I've got the 45mm lens. I also do have the 90mm lens, but I'm not going to be using that. I'm going to shoot some photos with the film that I've already got on here, which is Kenmare 400. Then I've also got some Cinestill 400D. Yeah, so I'm going to go up to a few locations and just take some photos of the area, on panoramic film. Well, the weather forecast was wrong. It's currently hailing, like very bad, and I'm at the top of a giant hill, so yeah, like look behind me. Yeah. So yeah, the weather was very bad, and it was just not alright conditions to shoot in. There was this like tiny bit of, sun that had no rain, and I was like, okay, let me just shoot some photos here. So I just shot some photos, just like some random stuff. I actually forgot to mention, I didn't load the film just then. I still had some film in it from the day before, but I loaded the film later on, so yeah. I got this really nice photo of a cow. It's quite cute. Cambrai is just full of fields, and there was a bunch of cows in this field, and I was just chilling with them for a bit. But then the hail started again, and I was just like, oh no, I'm gonna die. So yeah, I made it home, and I loaded the Cinestill 400D into the camera, and about 3 or 4 hours later, after the weather cleared up and it wasn't as bad, I went out to Portreif and got some photos of the waves and stuff like that after the weather was calming down, but the waves were still mental. It was ridiculous. Like, these waves were really rough. I really like these photos that I shot on this camera, but I do wish that I didn't waste so many frames on the same composition, because as I was leaving, I saw this dude that was wearing like a red jacket looking out across where I was shooting, and I was like, wow, if only I had a photo right now, because that could have been an amazing shot, but I got a bit too trigger happy with the waves. So to conclude this video, the Fujifilm TX-2 or the Hasselblad X-Pan is really good, and I do like it now. I shot it in the right conditions, landscapes and stuff like that. When I originally shot it, I was not in the right conditions. I was just taking portraits, and then the second time taking street photos, and I was like, why am I using this camera for these two things when it's meant to be for landscapes? I do, however, think it would be really fun to do some more street photography with this camera. It's just, has to be the right conditions. I think I'm going to take my theory of getting close to the subject in crowded spaces and use that to my advantage when next using the camera. So yeah, that is the end of this video. If you have enjoyed, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.